Consequently, my primary care physician just broke down and said, look, my man, I don't know what's wrong with you. He's like, you got to go somewhere and find out, what the problem is. He said, because I'm at the end of my knowledge. He says, I want you to either go to the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota or the Cleveland Clinic in Cleveland, Ohio. I went to the Cleveland Clinic in Cleveland, Ohio, and a doctor examined me. And if you repeat this, I'm going to say that I never said it. But this guy had to be about 80 years old, minimum. He didn't even touch me. He didn't even take my pulse. He just said, young man, what are you here for? I explained to him what was happening. I had been going to gastroenterologists, and I was already on dialysis. I can't understand where all this fluid is coming from. He said, lift up your shirt. I lifted up my shirt. He looked at my stomach and said, I don't think it's your stomach at all. I think it's your heart. He said, when you go back to Atlanta, I want you to get a heart catheterization. Came back to Atlanta, got a heart catheterization. You talk about having a team. I didn't go to Cleveland by myself. I went there with my brother because, that was part of my team. Any rate, came back to Atlanta, had the procedure done. As it turns out, your heart sits in a sac called a pericardium. And of course, I'm not an MD, but I'm going to do the best I can to keep it simple. In most people, that sac is flexible. It expands and contracts. Mine was like a pork rind, is what the doctor said. He said, that's why that fluid is not going anywhere in your body. And what it was doing is keeping my blood pressure elevated. I was walking around and out of breath, climbing steps and out of breath. And consequently, what happened, he says, I'm going to send your information over to a friend of mine that's a cardiologist. And that cardiologist looked at my test results, sent it to a heart surgeon. And heart surgeon said, we're going to have to cut off part of your pericardium because you can't get a kidney. Because at that time, I was on the kidney transplant list. Said, you can't get a kidney till you get this heart situation straightened out, which is probably something that a lot of people need to know. You got to take care of yourself before anybody's going to give you an organ. They're not going to give organs to people whose bodies are not in shape. So it's important that even while you're on dialysis, you got to follow your doctor's instructions and do what's asked of you. At any rate, I had my surgery November 30th, spent a month in the ICU at Emory, got out and got my kidney transplant in February 2021. I made 3 years this past February.